Alright, well, hey guys. Let me turn this down just a notch. Hold on. Alright, there we go. Okay, so today we are doing graphing quadratic equations. I thought you guys would like this. This is what they call redneck horseshoes. Thought that was kind of funny. We got old dude sticking his tongue out there. So anyways, today we're going to be doing graphing quadratics. And I actually forgot to take this out. Okay, so there's another page for this part right here. Alright, these are the main vocab words that you guys are going to be responsible for. You guys need to write these words down and also find the you also need to find the definitions form out of a dictionary. You're looking for the mathematical definition if you can. So the first one is parabola, second one is quadratic equation, third one second degree, you have vertex, axis of symmetry, maximum, minimum, roots, and zeros. And I will actually be referring to these as we're going through the lesson, so you may be able to get some of them from kind of what I'm saying. Formulas, which are going to be important. The first one is what we call standard form. It is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This right here means such that, let me fix that. One thing that mathematicians like to do is we like to use symbols to represent stuff just to make stuff easier to write. So this means such that. So it says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c such that a does not equal 0. So basically what this is telling you is this is the equation, but a can't equal 0. The second one is what we call vertex form. It's y minus k equals a times x minus h squared. And I actually also should have put this in, that the vertex itself in this formula is h comma k. Alright? Now, if you're given an equation or a quadratic equation in standard form, then in order to find the vertex, what you're going to do is you're going to find the x-coordinate by plugging in x equals negative b over 2a. And then in order to find the y-coordinate, once you find what x equals, you're going to plug that back into your quadratic equation and you're going to solve for y. So this basically is just showing you what the x values are. Okay? So these are going to be very important for us while we're doing this. Alright? So y equals x squared. This is in standard form. Something I recommend that you do when you do this is I recommend you write down the values of a, b, and c. So a, if we look back at standard form, is the number in front of the x. So that's a 1, since I have an x squared. This is going to be 0, and this will be 0, because I don't have an x term and I don't have a c term. Alright? So now, my x coordinate then is going to be, for my vertex, is going to be negative b over 2a, which is negative, this is 0 over 2 times 1, this is 0 over 2 negative, which is just 0. So that means for my vertex then, my x value is 0. And if I plug 0 in for the y value, or I mean for the x value, I get that y equals 0. So my vertex is going to be the point 0, 0. Go ahead and do this. Get my x and my y axis here. This is also, I'm going to give you a heads up, this is what we call the parent function. This is what all of the quadratic functions will be translations of this function right here when we graph this. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to start by graphing is going to be my vertex, which is going to be 0, 0. One other thing that I did not put on for the formulas for standard form, if A is greater than 0, okay, then that means the graph opens up. If A is less than 0, the graph opens down. Okay? So, we look at A here, we got A as 1, which means my graph then will open up. So I know my graph is going to be going this way. Remember, the graph of a quadratic is called a parabola. It's a U-shaped graph. All right. So now I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an XY table for this one. And I'm going to just use values that we know. All right. So we know 0, 0 is going to be in the middle because that's my vertex. And I'm going to have values over here on the left and values over here on the right. So I'm going to pick -2, -1, 1, and 2. And now I'm going to go ahead and plug them in. So -2 squared is going to be 4. -1 squared is 1. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. And here are my points for my graph. So I've got 0, 0. I've got 1, 1. And I've got 2, 4. I've got -1, 1, and -2, 4. And this is what my graph of y equals x squared will then look like. And we'll go ahead and label these points. This is 2, 4, 1, 1, 0, 0, -1, 1, and -2, 4. Now the other thing you need to remember, my vertex, and this should be pretty apparent by the graph, my vertex is going to be what we call a minimum, because this is the lowest point on the graph. All right. Any other point that's on this U shape is not going to be lower than 0, 0. So if my graph opens up, I have what is called a minimum at the vertex. Now you should also be able to see, and I know my graph isn't perfect, but you should also be able to see that my line of symmetry, and I'm hoping you look up what symmetric means, is x equals 0. Okay, so this line right here, x equals 0, is my line of symmetry, which means that I can fold this half of the graph over this line, and it should lay perfectly on this half of the graph. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at number 2. First thing we want to do here is we want to convert this to standard form. So I'm going to subtract 5 to both sides. I get y equals x squared minus 4x minus 5. Let's find our values. A is going to be 1, B is -4, C is -5. Go ahead and put my x and my y-axis here. Okay, so now my vertex, again, is -b, so this is negative, and b is -4 over 2 times 1. So this is going to be +4 over 2, which is 2. And that means that for y, I'm going to plug this in up for my standard form. So this is 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 5. This is 4 minus 8 minus 5. This is -4 minus 5, which is -9. So that means my vertex then is going to be the point 2, -9. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it was 2. So my vertex is going to be right here. A is positive, so my graph opens up. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you how to use my vertex and my table and get my points. Okay, so for the first table we did, this was for x squared, y equals x squared. We used -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And we got 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. Now what we're doing, okay, my vertex then is going to be 2, -9, which is going to be in the middle. All right. I'm going to increase and decrease by the same amount I did here. So since this went up 2, each one of these goes up 2. So this is going to be 1, and -2 will be 0. 1 will become 3, and 2 will become 4. Now, what happens now then is the y here decreased by 9, which means the y here is going to decrease by 9. So 4 minus 9 is going to be -5. 1 minus, 1 minus 9 is going to be -8. 1 minus 9 will be -8. And 4 minus 9 will be -5. And if we want, we can actually plug these in and see if that's correct. So according to what I have 1, -8, and I have 0, -5. So that's 7, 6, 5. And I have it here and here. Which means this graph is going to look like this. Okay? So this was, we had 4, -5. We had 3, -8. You had 2, -9. You had 1, -8. And you had 0, -5. Okay? So, this is a translation of the first function we did. You notice that the vertex, it moved 2 places positive for the x and 9 places negative for the y. So if we do these side by side here, okay, in this spot, we move the x down up 2, which means I'm going to move this one up 2. So this puts me, this is why we get these numbers. Okay? Each one of these increased by 2. Well, if this one went down 9, that means each one of these spots went down 9 as well, which is where we get -8 and -5, -8 and -5. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's check one of these. So let's take the value 2. Let's plug it into my formula. So you have y plus 5 equals x squared minus 4x. And we're going to plug in 2 for x. And we're going to plug in, sorry, not 2. Let's plug in 4 for x and -5 for y. Okay? So we had -5 plus 5 equals, this was 4 squared minus 4 times 4. This is 0 equals, 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times 4 is 16, and you get 0 equals 0. So that checks, and that is a solution. Okay? Make sure you write down any questions you may have, and make sure that you do the definitions, and make sure you write down your steps as well, because I will not give you credit if you do not write down your steps. Okay, have a great night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.